library board member. Anyone from the library board care to speak this evening?
Yes, I just
Please, can you please state your name for the record? I apologize.
Yes, Jim O'Donnell.
Thank you, Jim.
You have the letter, I believe, in your packet. I can read it in entirety if you wish.
Go ahead.
Dear Mayor and Council, it comes to the attention of the Library Board that the city has the opportunity to request an alternate use of the FEMA funds, which were originally designated for the community center. The board requests that you consider requesting these funds be used for the library building project. This would send a clear message to the community of your support of this worthwhile project. It is anticipated the new library will help revitalize the community by creating a focal point in the downtown area, increasing the traffic patterns and improving the economic climate. An influx of funding would help spur renewed interest in the project and could serve as a challenge to the public to match the FEMA investment. The investments of funds in this matter would benefit the entire community for generations to come. Signed, the library board members. I also have a list, and this is just a list of names that we had on our Saturday night get-together. And you can take it for what it is. It's just a list of names of people who are supporting this alternate use of funds. So, and you can look at it or not.
Thank you, Jim. Any more comments? Any more library board members wish to make a comment? Please state your name for the record.
Nancy Benson.
Oh. I'll go with Nancy first,
Sorry.
then I'll get to you, Crystal.
Sorry, that's all right.
I'll go with
You see
Nancy.
behind me. I would just like to express my support for this project. I think this would be a very, very good use of the funds to go into a community project. Thank you.
Go ahead, state your name for the record,
Crystal
please.
Schrader. I also would like to just express my support and would like to encourage you to please think about the amount of traffic that this will bring into the downtown area, as well as the businesses, and hopefully will help to renew some of the interest in some of the businesses and actually be able to get some more businesses into the area as well.
Any comment from the council?
I guess when we had the meeting over at the school library, we were told that the library board was going to raise the money and didn't need anything from the city. What happened to that?
We're still raising funds, but we can always use more money, Ted. We're still in the process. And by an infusion of these funds, I think it would really spark interest and help us on our way more.
Well, I think we've discussed two options here. One is to use the money for improving the dikes, which we're going to have to pay for. We have a match from the state of Minnesota of up to $1 million, but it's matching, so we're going to have to come up with half the money roughly that it's going to cost to repair the dikes. And if we don't, chances are we're going to end up in a floodplain, which is going to cost everybody money. We also have alternate projects. Kathy, where did this come from?
That's from FEMA, that
That's
explains
FEMA.
how you can use,
Okay.
yeah, that came right out of the FEMA handbook.
One of the things that we were looking for was the circumstances under which the money could be used, because if we have to come up with the money to match for the dike, is we're going to get it from the taxpayers. It's the only place it can come from. However, in here, Terry, I have read this.
Yes, I have.
It says funding may not be used, this is under alternative projects, funding may not be used for operating costs or to meet the state or local share requirement on other public assistance projects or projects that utilize other federal grants. What does that mean?
Can't double dip. meaning if you have a portion of your project being funded from federal funds or state funds as a grant or low-interest loan, you can't reapply for some other program or grant or loan from the federal government and use those funds there.
So it would be then your opinion that because we're getting money matching from the state, that this would not qualify as an alternative project?
The people that need to give the opinion on whether or not it would be approved would be FEMA. So if you're interested in doing that, you should submit a proposal to them for an alternative project. You could also submit one at the same time for the library, run them both through and see if you get approvals. And then you could make your decision based upon that. I'm hesitant to say one way or another until they actually sign off and give something in writing. But I would urge you to move it along, and if you have alternate projects, get those requests in, because time is running short. And I certainly would recommend that you all submit all potential projects and see what gets approved. Your decision may be narrowed down by FEMA itself on what they approve and don't approve. But I know your time is running out to get these things done.
The proposal that you would send to them, that would have all the alternative proposals listed on the same form or same entry, so to speak?
Even if you submit a request for their interpretation of regulations, you should still run through the actual alternative project paperwork and actually submit them, and have something approved or not approved that's actually submitted according to their forms. I wouldn't recommend that you rely upon a staff opinion or anything else. Submit the projects that you're interested in. You're capped at, what, 593,000 or 543. Submit alternate projects to FEMA for approval. I suspect that will be very illustrative on what you can do. They will approve or not approve those projects. The thing is, you can't start them. You can't do anything until you have approval in writing. Even if the staff says, yes, it's okay, you still need those projects approved or not approved. So I would urge you to move that along one way or another.
It's a 4-page form to fill out.
But on individual projects, are you saying? So how many alternative projects are we thinking or contemplating?
But when it first came up, I immediately thought of the library, but then after somebody brought up the dike, I mean, we're gonna have to tax the people for our share of fixing the levees, which I'm not real anxious to do.
Well, I would urge you already have the BDM consultants on board with your flood files anyway. I would urge you to authorize Kathy to talk with them, submit all necessary paperwork for your alternative projects for the $540-some thousand in FEMA funds. Get that done very, very soon. And I suspect that you'll get some denials on some of those, and you'll have some approvals on some of those. Then your decision may be easier.
Does anybody else have any other projects that would be community-wide?
I went through the list and I prioritized them somewhat by the levy being number one, wastewater treatment plant, water and street improvements that we're being forced to do, but that's also being partial FEMA money involved in it. We can't hardly do or look at anything in this town without it being touched by FEMA now. We've got a $250,000 repair to the Headworks building that we've deferred, but might be nice.
To provide some insight on that, the funds are for community-based projects, and the funds were approved and allocated to replace facilities that were damaged by the flood.